Oh, it worked. And Jared didn't fall over anything doing it.
Oh, wow.
I'm surprised at how well that worked. I was expecting way more calamity.
Maybe we should stop it there. Maybe that's all we need for tonight.
No, the viewers want to know, Nick. Did your wife think you were funny last week?
You know what? She didn't even watch, and I think that this is the problem.
That was to be expected.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode last week too.
Did you tell her that?
Yeah, of course. Every week I'm like, this is the best one yet, honey. I swear to God, just don't leave me.
And just she could smell the desperation.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh well.
Maybe you could send her a message. Just
I know we'll win her over.
yeah.
The wizard suit that we bought ourselves midweek for a token.
Yes. Yeah. No. Actually, we promised one for this episode and we didn't get there. But
Well, we have
maybe
ordered them.
next
They just
week.
haven't arrived.
Yeah.
But
None of them.
are you going to give it a test run at home to impress your wife then?
Yeah, I'll pretend it's my kids, but really I'll just keep walking past the bedroom. Like, come on, look at me. Yeah. Anyway, no, it'll be fun. So yeah, next week we won't be in this studio. We'll be in another country.
Well, yes, we will. We're going for token 2049 in Singapore, of course, which is going to be huge. So, it was going to be a bull market until this week. Because this week, liquidations have just come through everywhere, cascading billions, $1.7 billion worth of liquidations this week. That's unfortunate if you were leverage long. Yeah, sorry about that. I wasn't, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Oh, good.
To me. That's what matters.
You don't play silly games, you don't get silly prizes.
So
Like
big liquidations. So the most liquidations in ETH since 2021. So we're going back some time. So it's leading a few to speculate, is this the end of the 4-year cycle? Oh, no, sorry. Is this just the 4-year cycle playing out? Or is it not? Well, some people saying this is just the 4-year cycle, so I guess we're getting the end of it and it just has to happen. Yeah. But other people, economist Timothy Peterson, for one, is pointing out that, do you really believe that? And that, historically, September 21st is the worst day for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting stat. Yeah, agreed. He goes on to say that I think in 70% of the time, every time, after the 21st of September, the price is up. And I think within 6 months, if it's up that 70% of the time, then 6 months later, 90% of the time, it's even higher kind of thing. So these are all just like history, past performance doesn't predict future performance or whatever that saying is. But
70% of the time, it works all the time.
That's right. It's an interesting stat. And, at some point, I guess there's a good chance it won't break this season, especially since we kind of really bottomed on the 21st of September, US time anyway. And we just had those crazy liquidations and everyone's running around going, what's going on? Why is this happening to me? Anyway, the price has kind of stabilized for a little bit, although it's actually, before I walked in here, it was kind of heading down again. So,
well, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the OTC desk, we've seen plenty of buyers.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, a lot of buyers, not just in sort of Bitcoin and the majors, but buying everywhere. You can look at the Tether. Sort of, Tether's supposed to be pegged to $1. It rarely is on actually $1, but it's a good kind of yardstick kind of for how the market's going. And right now, Tether's about 10 bips, like 0.1% over peg, which is, I haven't seen it that high for quite a while actually. And usually when you see Tether doing that, it means everyone's sitting there buying Tether because they want to buy crypto kind of thing, or at least, having dry powder kind of ready to go. So when Tether's over peg, it's usually a good sign. When Tether's under peg, everyone's just dumping it. Everyone's sold their crypto and they're just trying to get out of the market. But it hasn't been under peg in quite a while, and it hasn't been this far over peg in a long time. So yeah, I mean there are some green shoots coming through, I suppose, but it's up to
in a week where Bitcoin is only down 2.1%, we've seen bigger liquidations than this.
Yeah, when I read, I'm looking at the number going, oh man, that's big. What's going on? And yeah, the actual percentage is so small in reality. I guess for the other cryptos, it's bigger. Solana was, 8 or 9%. Ethereum was over 5 to 10%.
Ethereum down 6.9%.
Nice.
Bitcoin only down a dip for ants at 2.1%. And we've seen Cardano and Dogecoin down 4.3 and 9.6% respectively. And the ever arbitrary fear and greed index at a 43, which means something.
Under 50 means people are a little bit nervous, I guess. Yeah, as far as I can tell, look, we had the rate cut on the 18th of September last week come through in the US. Jerome Powell said, "All right, that's it. We're cutting 25 bips." Some people were hoping for 50. That would have been some fireworks, but I don't think that was ever happening. And people got excited. The Bitcoin price, like ground up to 118K or something. Again, still like 5% or something under the all-time high, but still, 118K, can't sneeze at it. And then I guess everyone's just like, it's not enough. Jerome Powell's also been hinting and saying, look, I'm in no rush to cut rates. This is just a structural thing. We've got to, take it easy here. And so everyone's like, oh, they're sort of, I think, they've vaguely priced in another couple of cuts this year. And now people are getting worried that that's not going to happen.
Oh, right.
Because, everyone's saying, look, it's got to, the dot plot suggests that we need to be somewhere by the end of the year. And and the only way to get there is, some pretty aggressive cuts. And if that doesn't happen, then, that could be...
So it's basically that Jerome Powell has come out and went, yeah, we'll do some cuts, I guess.
Yeah, basically.
And people want to be like, come on, man, a little energy.
Yeah, literally. We wanted to hear him to go like, let's keep this party going. And he didn't. He was just like, look, I'll do this one for you, but,
no more.
No more. Yeah, that's it. Last one.
Oh, but then again, he's like probably like me when I try and tell my kids like to say like 5 more minutes, but no more TV for you. Of course, I'll probably give him another 20 minutes because I don't want to fight with him.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we're going to get rid of that action?
I don't think Jerome Powell has to deal with that kind of stuff. He
just
probably does, to be honest. You know what? He probably does.
Well, I'll give you one more cut.
Especially with Trump. Trump's sitting there
5
going,
cuts later.
Yeah. I was with my son. I've now priced in the one more request from him. So I'm like, okay, this is the last one. He's like, one more. I'm like, yeah, no worries, mate. Because I knew it was coming.
Yeah,
but then he asked for one more again. I'm like, no, we've done the one more. There's no one more. There's no 2 more. The one more's already happened.
We're going to get one more?
We'll get one more this year, I reckon.
2 more then?
Maybe 2 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because I priced in the one more.
The markets just need to start screaming like a toddler because they know they can extract more.
Yeah. Create noise and create a problem that you just like, you know what, I can make this go away by doing a rate cut.
Fine, whatever. Yeah. Just take 2.
Just take 2. That's right.
All right. Well, the rest of the news then. So this week has been dominated by the dump that really wasn't that bad. Liquidations. Bears are in control, it says here in the news. The Bears, I don't know how they're controlled. They're just like pouring things with their giant
I always find that
paws.
That phrase, like when the Bulls are in control, the Bears are in control. It's like, hang on, everyone buys and everyone sells. They're not... Like there's not some guy who's just a bear and all he does is sell. Where does he get his Bitcoin from?
Some guy
At some
dressed
point
in
he has to buy. So the bears are in control. It's more like the state of mind, I think. It's not like there's actual people out there who are in a bear camp. It's more like the state of the bear market, mindset is in control.
The bear market mindset,
That's how I kind of think about it. But, there's a lot of good stuff coming as well. Well, not coming, but a lot of reasons why you shouldn't have to worry about this. Like we said, September 21 historically is pretty poor day for this kind of stuff. If you care, if you're looking day to day. But we've got these ETFs happening. We'll talk about them a bit later. We've got treasury companies are still in accumulation mode. We've got all this kind of stuff happening. I mean, it's down timber. What do you expect? And this just in, September will end.
What?
Yeah. Just you heard it here first. September does end. We get October comes and everyone's happy again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't argue with memes.
Yeah,
like it rhymes. October. How do you? It sounded weird if you said Downtober. It doesn't even make sense. October.
I mean, so many people have made a play on Downtober when it goes down like $3, and everyone's like, "Whoa, Downtober!" I 100% remember that from previous years. So, yeah, I think you can turn anything into anything these days. But yeah, I think there's still like, I think there's still, don't sell all your bags yet. Not financial advice. I don't think we're at the end. Of course, I famously called the end of the bull market in December, and everyone else keeps saying October. Oh, gosh. We'll see how it ends.
What are we going to do if it goes down and no one's going to want to listen to us anymore?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll have to do something. Like I'll have to appease the gods in some way. Maybe I'll wear a wizard hat and a wizard suit.
Yes. Well, next week's going to be good. So actually next week, so I think, well, Jared's on leave next week as well. So man, we could be in trouble. But luckily we got G. So we're going to do some, like I said before, we're going to check out some live interviews. We're going to bail up some people whether they like it or not. Going to ask them some questions. Hopefully they give us some answers that are interesting. If they don't, what are we going to do then? That's the real question.
That's right.
Or if they give us nothing?
We just have to keep going down the long tail until we find someone who's interesting and gives us some outrageous story. Yeah, that's right.
You reckon Ted Pillows will be there?
Of course. How could he not be?
Ted Pillows. All right.
Okay.
All right, that's our mission. We've got to find Ted Pillows.
It's in the crosshairs.
I don't even know. Where's he located? We're going to go there. Sleepy Town. Decentralized exchanges driving token trends amid shifting allegiances. So here we go. So we've talked about Hyperliquid for a number of weeks. Hyperliquid seemed to be smashing it. Just seemed to be the one place that everyone wanted to go to do their trading. But CZ has got a real beanie's bonnet. And you actually mentioned this through the week, like absolutely spitting chips. He was so angry, like he was fogging up his glasses. Like that mad that, how could dare these hype people just do whatever the hell they're doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to go do something.
I am the one true exchange.
Yeah, it's correct. So Asta has been launched, I think, since we last chatted.
Yeah.
That seems to be doing relatively well, but as a competitor. And also Peter Thiel has come out and he's backed Avantis.
Yeah, it's real decentralized perpetuals exchange season at the moment. So for a bit of background, we're talking about Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid's sort of this layer one I've spoken about in previous times that allows you to sort of do perpetual trading. And it's, smooth, it's quick. It's not, you don't have to wait 10 minutes or even 12 seconds for a block to get processed and for, your liquidations or your trade to happen. It's really, really quick, sub-second finality, all that jazz. Since then, like CZ, so that is actually big news. We should probably talk about that as well. So for those again who don't know, CZ's a guy who runs Binance, biggest exchange in the world. They've had various troubles over the years. They used to exist in Australia. They got kicked out because they were doing naughty stuff in the US. They got in a lot of trouble. CZ, the founder and CEO, went to jail for 4 months. I'm going to say, boy. Yeah, due to money laundering concerns that the US had. And he wasn't even in the US, right? But I feel like he kind of did the right thing. He just fronted up and said, look, I'm not going to escape to Mallorca and sail off into the sunset. He sort of fronted, did his time in jail, Binance paid $4 billion in fees or something crazy, which is honestly a drop in the ocean for those guys. Like they're doing so well. But they had to drop out. Like there's a bunch of jurisdictions, a bunch of, regulatory bodies that looked at this and were like, oh, not on my watch kind of thing. And so I think they got they got debanked in Australia. And so they're essentially out of Australia, without banking, what can you do? I think Singapore, they rescinded their Singapore license application, which is kind of code for Singapore. The Monetary Authority of Singapore said, no, thank you. Anyway, CZ stepped down and he kind of went off to do his non-Binance related stuff, still crypto adjacent, and he was like tweeting every now and then about stuff. Anyway, people noticed maybe a week ago that he'd removed the X-Binance moniker from his Twitter handle, from his Twitter bio, to just be Binance. And so everyone's like, oh, I guess he's back. He didn't announce anything specifically, but that was enough, right? People are watching this stuff really closely. Anyway, Hyperliquid's been doing incredible things, kicking goals everywhere in the space, earning more fees than Ethereum. They're just doing amazing stuff. They did like a stablecoin. They put out for proposal for stablecoin. So they're like, we're going to launch a stablecoin. Who wants to run it for us? And all these big names in the space came and were like, please let me do it. Like it really showed the power of Hyperliquid that they were able to just garner all of this attention and all of these proposals from the big players like MakerDAI, like the guys who do the DAI stablecoin, the biggest decentralized stablecoin. They put out a proposal.
Sky Money now or something?
Yeah, it's called Sky now. That's right. Paxos did it. Paxos used to do the stablecoin for Binance, so they're obviously huge players. They do a bunch of stablecoin stuff. They've had a lot of experience in that space. There's been heaps of anyway. This whole thing happened. That was very interesting to watch. Just from the way people, like, I'm not going to say desperation, but the fact that all these huge players that seem like very established have been around, decades in some cases longer than Hyperliquid, are sitting there going, lining up or in an orderly fashion, submitting their proposals, saying, please let us be the ones who can do this for you. Because Hyperliquid is such a big deal at the moment. Anyway, obviously Binance have paid attention to this, and they've had this Asta protocol for a while, but only recently, since CZ has removed this kind of ex-Binance from his Twitter, now that he's back at Binance, he's started pumping Asta, basically showing Asta charts and all this nonsense. And so everyone's like, oh, okay, it makes sense. So he's kind of putting Asta forward as the Binance Smart Chain version. So Binance Smart Chain is Binance's kind of layer one. It's based off Ethereum. It's proof of stake, blah, blah, blah. Kind of similar to how Hyperliquid's its own layer one, but you kind of onboard through Arbitrum with Hyperliquid. So with this Asta DEX, you onboard through the Binance Smart Chain. And yeah, they've put this thing forward, and Asta has just gone crazy. Like if you got in at the front door, it started at cents, and it's now I think trading at $1.50 or something like that. So you could do some like 100 multiples easily. Yeah, so I can't even remember where we're going with this. We're talking about decentralized exchanges. Oh yeah, so and I talked about how this was like decentralized perpetuals season. So Asta is this perpetuals exchange. You can do perpetual trades. Their claim to fame, well, what CZ is trying to differentiate them with is to be able to do these dark pools in the trading. So if you look at Hyperliquid's history, there's well, not a lot, but there's a few instances where really, really big players come aboard and put down like a $300 million long on Bitcoin or something like that. And then I think we spoke about this last week, but the second your position is public, people are going to try and exploit that. How do you exploit that? Well, they've got a liquidation point, so you push the price down to the liquidation point, and then you've started a short, obviously. You sell down there, you get some cascading liquidations, boom, you're in the money when you force this guy to get liquidated, this guy being the public long Bitcoin holder. So Asta's kind of one of the proposals on Asta is to be able to do a dark pool, which allows you to have positions that aren't telegraphed to the market. So you can be these huge institutional players, take a directional position in in an asset and not have to worry about getting hunted, not have to worry about your liquidation stops, like points getting hunted. And that's kind of a big deal, I guess. But there's not that many of those guys out there, I suppose. And especially as the market gets more and more, the market cap grows of Bitcoin and it gets more sophisticated, it'll hopefully happen less and less. But at the moment, it's a thing that definitely happens. Meanwhile, a bunch of other decentralized perpetuals have popped up. So everyone's trying to jump on the next one, because if you missed the Hyperliquid trade, well, maybe you can make it on Asta, or maybe you can make it on what was another one you said?
Aerodrome, would that be one?
No, they're not a perpetuals exchange. Aerodrome, I think, are just a DEX. But who knows? Maybe they've got one coming. No. Aerodrome's like the base one, right?
Base one, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they've got something coming. But the thing is, you kind of need a custom-made blockchain for it, because the normal, on Base and on Arbitrum and whatever, that you couldn't do it. Like, it's just not fast enough. It's not built exactly for it. And that's why Hyperliquid was so popular and so successful, is because it was just custom built, purpose built for this trading, for the perpetuals trading. Whereas a lot of the other, like Ethereum and a lot of the other layer ones, are much more broad. Much more broad. They want to cover everything: DeFi, lending, trading, all that kind of stuff. And if the second you do that, you can't be the best at everything. You can only be kind of good at everything. Or if you want to pick something, then you can be the best at it. And that's what Hyperliquid have really done. They kind of picked the trading and sub-second finality, and said we want to make this work totally smoothly as if you're trading on a centralized exchange. And they've done pretty well so far. Anyway, it's interesting. We're kind of watching it play out in real time. Who knows who's going to win? I mean, obviously Hyperliquid have got a massive advantage at the moment, but CZ and Binance have infinite backing almost, so they can kind of just push this thing wherever they want it to go. Really, I mean, we'll see what happens. I hear a lot of people saying, there's a lot of people on both sides of the camp as well. Sorry, I've done a lot of it's just all over my timeline at the moment. I've learned a bunch of stuff, but I'm not even trying to. Everyone's got their opinion on, but 94% of the Aster token is locked up in 4 different wallets, and that's really bad, right? If you've got concentration of like these wallets are the tokens all concentrated in a select few wallets, that's kind of ripe for getting dumped on, right? But then other people are like, well, no, but there's a lockup schedule, and it's only going to get released like this, and 50% of it is going to airdrops. I'll talk about airdrops later.
We have to launch about some DeFi stuff later on too.
Yeah, for sure. And so like there's pros and cons to everything. Who knows what the truth is? We'll find out. Does everyone get dumped on? Does it all work out? Does Hyperliquid have too big a moat at the moment to get overtaken? I don't know.
Oh really? Yeah. I mean, you've taken a deep dive. Nick Astley.
Yeah. One thing which I heard, which kind of is a bit cynical but makes sense to me. If like CZ, and I'm going to call CZ because it's Binance, right? If he's back at Binance, it's not Binance anymore, it's CZ. If CZ has decided that this is what he wants to beat Hyperliquid, and this is how he's going to do it through this Aster protocol, then there's no way he's going to let it dump, 80% from here, or it's like that would just destroy it, right? Everyone would be like, it was, it was nonsense. I have heard a bunch of stuff recently about how, like something like 80% of the trading volume on Aster is all fake. I mean,
not in crypto. What are you talking about?
Are you serious? Yeah, no. I mean, the evidence that I've looked at for 3 seconds did look a bit damning. But again, I didn't. It could again just be someone tweeting. I feel like you really have to grok every single tweet you read these days, like with bold claims, because it could just be people writing stuff and getting it boosted. And I'm so cynical of fake news. But anyway. Interesting space. We'll see how it goes. If you look at Aster price versus Hyperliquid price, it's definitely favouring Aster at the moment. But obviously, Aster
early days.
Aster is very small compared to Hyperliquid. So see how it goes.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you dived right into Aster.
Yeah.
I saw you posted. I take an interest because of your interest, and you're obviously passionate about this topic.
Yeah, I'm passionate because I think it is interesting, and it's kind of leading crypto at the moment. Everything like crypto always goes through these, what do you call them, metas. I'll never pronounce that correctly. And at the moment, it's the decentralized perpetual exchange. And who's going to win? And I think the other up and comers, like they've really got to have something that, some killer feature that none of the others have, because it's got to be so difficult to beat Hyperliquid at its own game at the moment. But, who knows? Maybe Hyperliquid will get hacked. I guess that's what they're hoping for, right? Some black swan thing to happen to one of the other, protocols, and that's how they get there in. They're like, well, they've gone away, but we're still going.
Yeah, what could happen? I guess what would happen if those types of businesses, as long as there's volatility, if there's like long periods of like low volatility, it would be really interesting to see what happened. For example, like post, one of the biggest days of trading that we had. In the bear market was the day the FTX went down, right? Or Terra Luna. Both those events were huge amounts of volatility. But then you see, particularly in like not healthy markets like we currently see, but in weak markets, you'll start to see like 6 months of like no activity. Just like, just poking the market, do something, that old meme, just do something. It just sits there like, I can't do anything. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to a lot of those perps businesses and stuff, because I would have thought that the trading, those volumes would just drop, not by like a little bit, but like a lot.
Yeah, people will definitely.
You know what I mean?
Well, people can bet on the downside. I guess that's one of the interesting things about these perps.
But once if there's nothing happening and it's just crab walk for 6 months, it'd be really interesting to see these businesses
you get
and
chopped,
how they go.
for sure. We'll talk about this later as well. Betting your business model on these kind of crazy events like FTX going down or someone getting hacked or whatever is just a bad way to do it, I think.
Oh, I'm not saying they would necessarily bake that.
I'm not saying you are, but I just feel like a lot. That's kind of what I was saying, right? I was like, they're hoping for this event so they can take the crown. I think that's a risky play to make. I mean, who knows? Maybe these protocols have extremely low costs and they can just sit there and wait it out for a couple of years, earning small fees, and it's enough.
Yeah. Is one of the big challenges in crypto in general is getting bandwidth, and right now, as you said, all eyes are on these perp businesses, and what happens when the next new toy comes in and
Yep.
you know what I mean, and Andy the doll is just sort of thrown to the side because Buzz Lightning.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
I don't want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully, well, I guess we'll get an answer pretty soon. Like everything else, we only really get an answer during the bear market. But as we know, it's not until at least December.
Yes.
So I guess we don't have to wait that long to find out. Will Nick be right? Will Nick be wrong? Everybody gets an ETF is the next headline we have to talk about. Now, the ETFs have been undoubtedly a huge change in the industry, a huge change for the direction, potentially a huge change for the direction of what this 4-year cycle means. We've always had this 4-year cycle. Excessive leverage builds up, it gets wiped out. It seems to follow this kind of pattern around about the 4 years with the presidential cycle. But do ETFs change the game? So much money now flooding into it.
Yep.
I don't know. But either way, it doesn't matter at the moment because everyone gets an ETF. So the SEC has thrown the doors wide open and said that basically, you want to do a crypto ETF? Go for it. Big change.
Well, not quite.
I'm just setting the scene here, Nick, for you to. I'm paraphrasing here. You come in with the
You
facts.
say something crazy, and I'll be like, "Well, actually, Lee."
Well, previously the SEC was doing it on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
And they've now basically said, well, you know what? It's just a standard filing.
Yeah, that's right. So you used to have to file the 19-4B or something. What is it? 19B-4 file, and then the SEC would have to review it individually. They would have to kind of go from the very beginning all the way through. Could take 200 and something. What did I write down here? 240 days was kind of the time it could potentially take. That's like, 2/3 of a year kind of thing, 3/4 of a year. It's a long time. And with this new one, it's basically they've said, look, you don't need to do that. You don't need to file a 19B-4 file anymore. And as long as, this is kind of putting it down to the exchanges now. So there were 4 exchanges that came and said, look, we want to be able to do this for these like more risky assets. Oh, and this is not just crypto, by the way. This is like, other things as well. So this is not just a specifically crypto-related thing, but crypto is included in this. And yeah, it reduces the 240 days down to 75 days, which is huge, really. And it just means it does open the doors for all of these. It means that the SEC doesn't have to review it basically, as long as the filing ticks off all the boxes that the exchange has to follow through with. Then it should be all good.
Yep.
And they're saying they're like hopefully some ones coming under this new project, this new sort of program will come through in maybe October even.
So we could see. So who was it? James Safer saying that maybe we'll see this paves the way for a XRP and a Dogecoin ETF.
No, XRP.
I'm about to be fact checked.
I think they're already in, aren't they? The XRP and Doge ones are already in.
Oh, approved under different rules.
Yeah, so they're the ones who went through the Osprey from the Osprey management thing. We'll probably see. I guess XRP and Solana is my guess. Is going to be the first ones we're going to see through this new one. But yeah, the Dogecoin and XRP ETFs, which happened very recently, they were like super successful as well. Sort of first, I don't know, it was the first week or something like that. They did something like 37 million, or was it first day?
Debuted last week with healthy volumes of 57 million AU. Well, let's stick with US numbers. So 37.7 million for the XRP, the Rex Osprey one, and 17 mil US for Dogecoin.
For the Dogecoin, yeah. So they're kind of expecting like in the low, 2 to 3 mil for these things. So they really outperformed. I mean, it's not Bitcoin and Ethereum levels, but you wouldn't expect that. They still did really well, showing that there's definite demand. Like most normal ETFs might get $1 million if you're lucky, kind of thing. And these things are pumping 37 million and 18 million. They're good numbers, definitely. I like the Doge one. So it was, they called it Doge. The ETF ticker is Doge, but with a J. So it's DOJE.
Right.
I was like, that's cool. Like, you still pronounce it the same.
Because it was DOGE taken?
I don't know. I don't think they pronounce. I've got a feeling they don't use the spot currency ticker because that's just too confusing.
Okay, makes sense.
I think. But yeah, there's no BTC ETF. It's like IBIT for whatever.
True.
They're all called various
some things. All right. Well, we need to. Okay. So there, all the facts are done. So we can move to rumor of the week. Next article. So here we go. I don't know what this is about because it's just a question. Literally, it's just a question. But Dennis Porter. So he has been, I guess, a politically active guy for a while. So part of the Satoshi Action Fund's orbit of influence. Claims that there is a massive political news coming for Bitcoin. Doesn't say what. Doesn't say when. Just says that according to the White House, Donald Trump is scheduled to make an announcement sometime. What do you think this is?
I don't know. You know, the first thing I thought of, you know how they built that big gold statue of Donald Trump holding a Bitcoin? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
It's like out the front of the, I don't know where it is actually. Is it out the front of the White House? Can't remember. But yeah, they built this thing of him holding Bitcoin. I'm like, what? Why do they do that?
Could this be?
And who is
could this
they?
be the Bitcoin Reserve? I don't know who they is. It's always
No, I'm not asking you. This is hypothetical. I don't know who they are. I don't expect you to know. You don't even know about the statue. How do you know who built it?
Exactly.
But it just seems so strange to me. I was like, they built this statue of him holding a Bitcoin. Like, when's the last time we built a statue to one of our leaders in the Western world? I can't think of it. Like, it's not like there's a statue.
Dan
of
Andrews is
Anthony
getting one down in Melbourne.
No.
Apparently. Yeah.
What? It doesn't. I thought he was universally hated.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. Well, I've never lived in Victoria. I don't know what's going on with Melbourne Victorian politics in general. But Dan Andrews, I thought no one liked him either. But he's getting a statue. But also, he did win
Is
two.
it a statue with like pie on his face or something? Like, is it?
He won 3 terms in a row and reversed the economy at the state. Like
But didn't he do that whole Commonwealth Games f up?
Yeah.
he
He.
saved the money by doing it.
Yeah, so he did win. Like I don't know. I don't understand Victorian politics because he did win a bunch of terms. But then again, I guess if you spend a lot of time on Twitter, everyone's like, I hate that guy, but he was voted in, so I guess he wasn't that hated.
He was very pro-COVID lockdown.
That's the thing. I remember everyone hating him for that. Anyway, this is not a political podcast. Let's not go too deep.
But
in there
he's
'cause
getting
I'm
a
just showing
statue.
my
Is my
ignorance, but-
point.
Yeah. No. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, wow. Okay. That kind of ruins my argument. What's going to happen with this? Is like an announcement of an announcement. You know, like. It's one of
Dennis
these
Porter,
things.
I
He's
follow
announced-
him
he's
on. I
announced
follow him
the-
X, and he's one of these look, Dennis, I know you don't listen, but anyway, he always seems to be going, big news coming, big news, big news. He's one of these
breaking,
guys.
yeah.
Breaking news.
Breaking.
And then, you know, if you ever follow him up, be like, hey, you've called the last 20 big announcements out of the last 4. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's one of these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe that's being a bit unfair, but that seems to be the vibe I'm getting.
Okay, so what could it be? Let's think about this. Okay, is it Bitcoin Reserve? They're going to start buying Bitcoin for the strategic reserve?
Well, seeing
Is
we're just left to
it-
guess, we can just make it up.
Yeah, I mean, no capital gains,
Hmm?
like tax on crypto.
Ending
selling
the
crypto.
Fed?
Is that good for Bitcoin? I suppose so. Like long term, we're going to descend into anarchy, and we'll need something to trade.
We're just speculating wildly. That's the thing. It could
Yeah,
be anything.
I mean, it's probably going to be a total anticlimax. But I don't know. Bullish news is bullish news. Gives you something to live for, doesn't it?
I hope it's something to do with Barron. Barron's going to be appointed to the next Fed. Next Fed chair is Barron Trump.
Oh, Jerome Powell's out.
Barron's in. That's going to be my bet. I think, you know, seeing as we're just allowed to just speculate wildly because we have no other detail.
Okay.
I'm going with Barron Trump as the next Fed chair.
Yeah. Okay.
See if you can come up with a better idea than that.
All right. Well, I'm going with ending capital gains on crypto sales. That's my guess.
What if it was the Tylenol announcement that
Hmm.
confused the two?
Tylenol announcement.
Trump came out today and said Tylenol causes autism.
Did he?
Did he?
Today.
Tylenol causes autism.
Wow. Can we ask Grok that one?
Is it like? Can we ask, yeah. Who makes Tylenol? Is it just Tylenol?
It's Panadol.
Like, yeah, I'm just thinking the company share price must have done something interesting.
The competitor was Dr. Oz, who's in the health.
Oh gosh.
we're going to have to get Grok onto that one because what's the wildest thing you've read on X this week? Because I read some wild stuff and I'm a bit like you. I'm just like, I can't believe anything now.
Yeah.
I just assume everyone's lying to me.
Yeah. I don't know. Like yeah.
I think
I feel like I always need a good solid hour when I'm doing this stuff because I need to then do back research on everything I read. Because
Totally.
I know I want to talk to other people about it, like this podcast kind of thing. But I don't want to then sit there and just regurgitate lies that someone else has somehow gotten to my feed.
Yeah. I've made this point before, and it's especially the case in crypto. This is what I mean. People always say, "Do your own research." Like, where do you actually get your research from, or how do you even know if you're properly doing things? There was an exchange, an Australian exchange, which had some issues. Let's call it that. I won't mention them here. They're really good guys. But I jumped into a Discord group by disaffected users because of this, right? And knowing a little bit about how exchanges work generally, not just ours, but others, have a better sense than probably most people. And I remember watching, there was thousands of comments in here. There's hundreds of people in this group, and there was thousands of comments about how they were affected due to the impact that this particular exchange had. And I was sat in this group for a good 2 to 3 weeks, watching all, just quietly observing like a weirdo from the corner. And not a single person in that entire exchange made a comment that was even grounded in factual, like not even close to reality.
Yeah, right.
But, there was a lot of people who said things really earnestly, like, this is how it works and this is why it should be like this. And they said it seriously. And I genuinely believe those people thought they were making an educated guess, right? And so I don't think they were in there to like let's just throw red herrings around to try and throw everyone off the scent here. They just didn't know what they were doing, but they said it confidently.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, oh, thank you. And then this guy in particular became I can't even remember who this user was, but he became your authority because he kept posting stuff confidently. And enough people went, well, I don't know, but this guy seems to know. He certainly seems confident when he's saying it.
And he wouldn't say it like if he didn't mean it and he didn't know for sure.
I believe.
Surely.
Yeah, exactly. And this, I'm like, I still remember that thing going, this guy is so off the money, right? But the thing is, I've read a lot of times and everyone's guilty of this. You jump on X or whatever, and you read someone like, oh, this guy has got 100,000 followers. Surely he has some insights. No, he just has 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he doesn't know anything about what's going on. But we put more weight and more credence on these people who come out and say all this absolute nonsense confidently. Like Barron Trump's going to be the next Fed chair. Trust me, bro. I know. I know.
This just in, breaking.
Hey, I'm telling you this, and I know. No, I don't know. I'm making that up.
And I think that Grok doesn't solve this, right? It helps, but at some point, I feel like every tweet I read now, the first reply is, Grok, is this true?
Yeah.
Totally.
What I mean? And it's like, and then I'll faithfully click on that tweet to see what Grok thinks of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, Grok is not perfect, obviously. AIs can do their best, but yeah, anyway, what a world we live in. How do we combat this?
Gee, while we're doing, can you ask Grok if Barron is going to be the next Fed chair? And see what response we get, just out of curiosity. And if he says maybe, who knows? While we're waiting for that answer, let's get into some actual stuff. So we've had a few just requests to talk about some DeFi thingamajiggies. And then, I know that's very descriptive.
DeFi thingamajiggies.
That leaves the door wide open to talk about anything we'd like. The validator queue. Okay, so the ETH Whisperer, everyone's keen to hear your view on this because confidently say it.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever answer it is, just give it to us confidently so people believe it.
How do I know? Just guessing.
There is no evidence that anyone named Barron is a likely candidate.
There's no evidence that anyone named Barron.
Oh, sorry, Lee.
I've been fact checked.
That's bad. Yeah.
Is there evidence of anyone else being? We'll find out that. So Ethereum's validator queue has hit, a bunch of people hit the exit queues this week. So Kill and Finance, so they're a staking business, if I'm not corrected.
Yep.
They offer staking. They had to unstake 1.6 million ETH as a precautionary security measure, which is ironic because this was due to a security breach affecting Swiss Borg's Solana staking, which Kiln helped manage.
That's right.
Irony aside, it's probably not a great thing, right? So, you want, Ethereum to be the platform that underpins a lot of TradFi stuff going forward. Yet you can have potentially, a situation like this where someone goes, I've got to unstake all my ETH, and then, you can't just have, as Vitalik has put it, you can't just have soldiers going, I'm out of here halfway through the battle.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting one. There's a few different layers to this. So basically, the Ethereum exit queue has pumped. Jared, are you about to give us a sweet chart? Cool. Is that active? There we go. So for those who are watching this, you can see this chart here. It's basically the validator queue entries and exits. The blue one is people entering the queue, so as in people who are wanting to stake more Ethereum. The red one is people who are trying to exit the queue. You can see very recently that the red one has suddenly spiked up to 2.5 million trying to exit. Now we can come back to that. So, okay, if you ignore that big spike, you can see that the entry and exit are kind of tracking each other for a little while. Entry was much bigger than the exit, then the exits kind of took over. Entry kind of came up as well. To be honest, one thing I need to do a bit more research on. I don't understand why they would ever not, it should always be netted out, and one should be zero. Anyway, we can talk about that later. So what's happened here? Everyone's commenting on that huge exit spike. Back to what you were saying before, Kiln has there was some vulnerability with one of the Kiln API endpoints, and basically allowed some hacker to steal something like $43 million worth of Solana. Now, in the scheme of things, this wasn't a big deal because I think it was like 1 or 2% of what Kiln was managing, or what Swissborg maybe was managing. So it wasn't a huge deal. The Swissborg guys said, look, no worries, guys, we will cover this. Don't worry. No one's going to lose out. But as part of this, as part of their security protocols, they're like, look, we've got to start all over again for these staking things. We've got to make sure they're 100% safe. And so they unstaked all the Solana, they unstaked all the ETH. And Solana didn't really matter because it just unstakes every epoch, which is every 2 or 3 days, I think. But with Ethereum, you've got this queue structure. And you can only unstake a certain amount of Ethereum at a time. Now, the reason for this, it makes sense, right? Because if suddenly 50% of the staked Ethereum decided to unstake, then the network is suddenly 50% less secure. There's much less Ethereum getting staked. The validators have to deal with that, or much less validators, and it can cause problems. So what they've done is they've kind of created this little funnel area where only a certain amount can get through at once, just to sort of normalize the flow. I think we've spoken about this in previous months.
Definitely.
And you could have seen in that chart as well. It was the big guy, the entry points are winning sometimes, the exit points are winning sometimes. It kind of flops around the place. I think last time we spoke about it, we were saying, the entries were beating the exits, which was unusual because previously the exit, you know what I mean? So it changes to and from. You can get rid of that chart now. But it makes sense that they don't want it all happening at once. Vitalik is kind of, so the guy who brought this up, who's started this whole thing, was from Galaxy. And I find this kind of interesting. This is another layer of this whole story, in that he's going, look, this is pointless. If we're supposed to run the future of finance on Ethereum, how can you have to wait 45 days to get your staked Ethereum back? It's not fair. And I see his point. Yes, if you see in their state, you've got your stuff staked and you want to make a fast move, 45 days is not what is this, TradFi? We're back in the old days now. we want to be nimble and agile and be able to do stuff. But the reasons for it there aren't arbitrary. There's a purpose for this kind of narrow entry and exit door for getting in and out of Ethereum, and it's not there to stop people from unstaking and hoard the stake, right? Because they gatekeep the incoming ones as well. So, but the thing is, if you look at that chart before, so there's about 1,000 Ethereum is in the waiting queue. And that's pretty much what, it was 1,000 or maybe 1.5 thousand. That's pretty much what Kiln is doing. So, and they've basically said, look, we're unstaking the Ethereum now, but we're going to restake it immediately. These are all customers we're staking for. There's not some mass exodus. So this seems overall a bit of a nothing kind of, move. Yeah, it's looking at that chart, it's well, what the hell's going on? How can you possibly wait 45 days? But it's a specific scenario that's happened. It's a once-off, and it's not like everyone, that 1.5 thousand Ethereum is all going to get sold. Yeah. It's just going to get restaked. So
gotcha.
I wouldn't worry too much about it.
All right. Storm in a teacup.
We got a rose from Harry Dell. He sent us a rose.
Harry Dell.
Harry Dell sent us a rose.
1 or 2 cents. We're in the
Harry.
money.
Ooh. We should stake that actually in 45 days.
Our mate Harry Dell. I'm glad Harry's watching. You know, one interesting fact about Harry is before he was an international man of law and He's a very good businessman. He has about 25 businesses. He was running a cinema, his family cinema. That's right, isn't it, Harry? I know you're watching, so I know you know that fact.
He still is. He's also a #1 gifter badge because he's the only one who's given it.
Oh, Harry. I mean, it's easy if you're the first.
Harry of Canadian Legal. Yeah, actually, we sue Independent Reserve along with some of our friends. We're hosting the opening party for the Australian CryptoCon. Harry from Canadian Legal is also one of our co-sponsors. So thank you, Harry.
Oh, legend.
Thanks for the rose. We'll see you at the party. Actually, we'll probably see you before that, but till then, keep sending us roses. It's not the end of the show. That did sound like a rap, but
It did.
all right, so next one. Quickly on this one. We don't have to stay on this one very long because the stablecoin world, as we know, we've been following this story for a long time. The stablecoin world in general, in Hong Kong and Korea and places like that, have been going absolutely wild. So Hong Kong, so AnchorX has launched basically the first stablecoin chain to the international Chinese yuan, which is very interesting because we know that there's a lot of activity in China, and China in general is a huge user of crypto, despite it being technically banned. And meanwhile, and this is interesting because South Korea is a really interesting place for crypto in general. I speak to a lot of South Koreans, and there is a huge scene. In fact, Korea Blockchain Week is going on as we speak. Now, there's a huge crypto scene in Korea, but oddly enough, ironic, I don't know what you want to call it, all the Koreans who are doing crypto, which there are a lot, none of them do it in Korea. The Koreans have to set up offshore elsewhere, which is because, at least as far as my understanding of it is concerned, that in Korea, and where I'm getting to this is there is a fully collateralized stablecoin tied to South Korean won, but this is where I find it a little bit odd, and perhaps a discussion point, is that in Korea they only have really 4 exchanges, and you really can't set up an exchange unless you get the regulatory approval. But as far as I'm aware, at least according to the Koreans that I've spoken to, is that they're like, no, we're not even going to allow more than 4 because if there's more than 4, we can't really control it, and we like to make sure that whoever's doing it does it under our control. So you can't really be an exchange unless you're one of these 4 that have been granted a rose, figuratively speaking, from the Chinese government.
A rose.
Well, it's a nice feeling. So I guess but the exchange is there, but also you cannot, and this is why the kimchi premium exists broadly speaking, is that none of the exchanges are allowed to withdraw crypto. So you can trade crypto in these Korean exchanges, but you can't withdraw. You can only withdraw won to and from exchanges. So in isolation, that's why you get the kimchi premium, is it gets bid up in isolation, which is generally speaking. So that's why I guess there's some context to having a South Korean digital stablecoin is a little bit different from, I guess, other jurisdictions because of this nuance with the market there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can't withdraw, then this doesn't really help that. I think this is probably more of a way for them to try and get their currency, traded more in the global markets, I guess. The thing that really that drew my eye to this article was just the acronyms. Like AnchorX launches AXCNH and BDACS launches KRW1.
Well, Korean won. That's KRW.
Yeah, I know there are, and CNH is the Chinese, but it's just too many letters, and it doesn't roll off the tongue, and no one's going to there's going to be no hype around this, I think. Something I thought maybe might be interesting for the viewers to learn about or to talk about is the way that China has these 2 kind of markets for their currency. So you've got the onshore and offshore currencies. So this specific stable coin, the AnchorX coin, the AX, I guess for AnchorX, CNH, Chinese renminbi, whatever it is anchored to the offshore coin. So for those who don't know, you cannot trade, if you're not in China, you can't actually trade the Chinese currency. The only way you can do it is with this offshore version, which isn't linked one-to-one. So sometimes the price will spread, there'll be like a sort of a basis spread between one and the other. Just depends on, market forces and whatever, but they are actually 2 separate kind of currencies really. And people who are outside of China can trade one, and people who are inside can trade the other. And there's only very tiny rails to get, from one to the other. And most people don't have access to those rails. So this stable coin, and the same thing is true for Japan as well. So there's a onshore and offshore for the Japanese currency. and it works in kind of a similar manner. This stablecoin is obviously linked to the offshore version of the coin, and like the Korean one, they're just trying to sort of encourage global trade on the coin to get people more interested. I guess, you know, maybe people are sort of starting to vie for reserve currency. Everyone's like, you know, smelling blood. I'm like, what if it could be me? And honestly, China's probably, you know, Korea doesn't have a chance, I don't think, but China's you know, a decent contender for the next reserve currency,
if not Bitcoin.
Of course, you know, we all have our preference of Bitcoin, but you know,
The market will decide, I guess.
yeah.
All right. Well, we have 10 minutes left, so we have to just make a decision on which topics we're going to do. Well, actually, no, I am the one with the list of things, so I will decide that.
Okay.
Me. Actually, and you know what? Like I said before, we've had a bunch of people want to talk about DeFi, but I don't think we can do DeFi justice in 10 minutes. We should really focus on this as a specific topic for a future episode, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
And we can actually run through DeFi, what it is, what's some interesting stuff that's happening in it, why people should care, all that kind of stuff, as opposed to just making a comment here that Vitalik apparently is embracing DeFi. Yay, great. But we should come back to that and maybe delve into it, because I've thought that DeFi is one of the most, to me personally, it has always been one of the most fascinating areas and potential use cases for crypto. But it's going to take a long time to get there. And it's the path to whether it actually will become a thing of the future is still very, very, very much undecided. So let's maybe park that one and touch on an interesting article that popped up about debanking. So in Vietnam and Thailand, so I've been doing some free marketing for unsensible money. So two things that pop up to mind, but let me talk about the details first. Vietnam has reportedly in the process of closing 86 million banks out of a total of 200 million banks.
Yeah. Is that wild?
Which, for the reasoning as far as this article is concerned, for failing to meet biometric verification standards, which kind of says, hey, does that mean people don't want to be like give their digital, you know, biometric details away, or does that mean 86 million?
Spit in this cup and you get a bank account.
Or does that mean that 86 million fake accounts need to be cut down because it's just been a rampant muling going on?
I mean,
same thing going
Vietnam,
on in.
Can we? What's the population of Vietnam? Can we? Because this would be interesting to know. Because 200 million sounds like a big number. Obviously, in terms of, you know, the Australian market, 200 million is a ridiculous number. 101 million.
So having 200 million accounts of a population of 101 million makes me think that something's going on there.
I mean, there'll be company accounts and people will have multiple accounts, I suppose. But is this? Yeah, I agree. This is, you know, I want to put my sort of tinfoil hat on and say, you know, they're out to get us. They're just trying to get my spit.
I mean, I can get it. Like, if you're a legitimate person amongst that 80 million, don't want to give away your biometrics details. Okay, great, that's fantastic.
But and there's further cut downs as well, right? So they want to close these accounts because and the reasoning they say is because they're vulnerable to scams. I was like, okay, just like tell me, do you have to shut my account down because I'm vulnerable to a scam, or do you maybe like put a limit on it and say, look, you can only withdraw this much until you've set up further security. I don't know. So what they're also doing is for people who have set up the facial recognition, you can only withdraw. It's about like $500. If you're trying to do over $500, you need to do a face scan, and if it's over $1,000 approximately, you need to do like a bunch of other checks as well. They're really like, you know, putting this friction into the market. The velocity of currency is just going to slow right down. And so, yes, it is kind of like a advertisement for crypto. Maybe not Bitcoin necessarily. Like, people don't usually transact in Bitcoin per se. Like, people would use, you know, stable coins, I'm imagining, for this kind of thing. But it is really an advert for that kind of stuff where you can just send stuff from one wallet to another wallet. You know, the slowest blockchain in that space these days is Ethereum at 12 seconds, 12-second block time. So it's so quick. It's as quick as your bank, and in fact much quicker if you don't have to deal with facial recognition and extra checks every time you try and do more than $1,000. It just seems like a strange thing to do. I don't know if it's actually enacted yet, and if they actually shut down 86 million accounts, like that's a big deal.
That's a lot of accounts shutting down.
So big.
It's a lot of paperwork.
Like that's almost, 1 for 1 for their, population. If they've got 100 million people.
It's a lot of account closures.
Imagine the guy doing it. It's like, hey, Jerry, you got to close down 86 million accounts. Like, oh, I'm going to be here all weekend.
Imagine if you had to fill out. Imagine if you had to fill out paperwork for each one of those.
Yeah,
accounts.
that's right.
It's a full-time business.
Like you have
just
to
on that.
justify each one. Yeah, because keep going with the story. There's more. There's some talk about.
Well, also
Thailand
in
as well,
Thailand,
right?
they've had to close 3 million bank accounts for suspected being money mules and scammers. Oh, money mules for scammers. And authorities have imposed daily transfer limits on all bank customers to the country. Okay, and again, this is the really. I don't know if these accounts have got good reasoning to be money mules. Okay, maybe we should be shutting them down. But also, it could be used. This is the thing, right?
Yeah.
Is it just a lot of innocent people getting caught up with
Well,
this? And
apparently, yeah. So that one I think has happened, and apparently, yeah, there are a bunch of like real people and businesses and stuff who got shut down for it, and they're like, "What the hell?"
yeah.
You know, I'm trying to run a business here.
And if you're going, I've identified 3 million accounts. How good are your checks?
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
that just sounds like you've just gone. Run
I
a rule.
reckon.
You've just basically ticked anyone with a T
Yeah.
in your name and just went, you know what?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
as good a reason as any.
Yeah.
And a bunch of innocent people are going to get caught up in that, which I guess would definitely be a good advert for using crypto.
It kind of reminds me. Do you remember was it 2016 or something like that, where India basically said, okay, any banknotes like cash that was, I think it was like 500 or 1,000 rupee, done, banned, can't use it anymore. It's useless.
What?
Yeah, they're just like, nah.
That kind of
Remember
stuff is
that?
a great ad for.
Yeah, and everyone's like, well, hang on, what? And they're like,
What?
yeah,
You
because
can't just make up
all
these
the
rules.
bad guys use those big banknotes. That's what they use for doing like fraud and stuff. And so we're gonna destroy them. And everyone's like, excuse me. And so they're like, okay, look, you got to bring them in, and you can, if you're legitimate, you can exchange them for a new banknote, the new version with a different color or whatever. And then like the results of this was that 99.something% of banknotes were refunded for the new ones. It's like, okay, so no one was like, it was just a completely useless
What a nonsense
exercise.
You're not allowed to use. Imagine like, I don't know. Someone goes to you. You're not allowed. A bunch of criminals robbed a bank and used this highway. So none of you are allowed to use this highway.
This is
until
like,
you all come back and show us your license.
yeah.
And everyone's going to be like, okay, give me a new license.
Yeah, this is what is it in like communism where they're just making work for the purpose of you take this box to that room, and you over there you take the box and you bring it back to this room, and you guys just keep doing that.
Thailand's Donald Trump had just sacked too many people, and they needed to come up with a
Yeah.
job initiative for
Yeah,
someone.
it's like, well, we sacked all you guys, so you don't need bank accounts anymore. Shut them down.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It's yeah, the Thailand one's funny as well because the government urged the public not to panic. So they did their job.
Don't freak out now.
Guys, don't worry about it. We're just shutting down random accounts. Jerry's on it. Don't worry. He'll be finished by the weekend. And Jerry's like, oh, man, I hate my job.
Mr. Nguyen Accounts knows everything about you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's all under control.
Yeah. Well, so the Thailand one is apparently temporary. So they're just like, they're suspending suspended 3 million accounts while Jerry does his checks. And what Jerry's checking for, I don't know.
It's so weird. Everything in Thailand I've ever paid cash for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and apparently they're claiming
Thailand.
that...
Mr. Nguyen's probably in Vietnam. He's probably not in Thailand.
yeah,
Anyway.
true.
All right. Well, we're up on an hour, Nick, which means next week we're going to try and deliver everyone some valuable content from Singapore. It could just be us in wizard outfits. That's not to say that is not valuable,
Yeah, yeah.
I want to see this.
but we'll see how we go. And we're going to bail up some people in Singapore. We're going to ask some questions. I don't know what questions I'm going to ask yet. I don't even know what questions I was going to ask Nick before the show. So we'll just make it up as we go.
We could get someone involved, like there's 3 of us, and then you and I just talk. And they don't even get involved.
We've got some, but we undoubtedly be back the week after. So stay tuned for next week. It's going to be a bit rough and ready. It could be horrendous. We don't know yet.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
This
So
is our first time doing it.
Get prepared. We're not in a studio. We're just going to be like, we'll have a selfie stick maybe, or some guy following us around with an iPhone.
It will literally be us in wizard outfits with selfie sticks, and take your bets on what that comes out at.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guests could just be
It's
people we've
gonna
just
be
made
rough.
friends with who have nothing interesting to say at all.
And not vetted. They could just go rogue as far as we know.
So
In
tune
fact,
in.
maybe this could pump our numbers.
This
Could
could be
get as many rogues as possible.
this could be the break we need.
Yes.
All right. So let's sign off, but let's not do it in unison. Jared, thank you for sharing that. was cringy. It was horrible. It was
You know,
embarrassing.
the more I listened to it, it was like actually okay.
Yeah.
Don't you reckon?
Should we do it?
It was, it was like when we did it, it sounded to you and me so bad. But then when I looked back, like when, you know, someone goes like, you posted it up, I'm like, actually that kind of works.
Should we do it?
We could go.
Count us in. Till next time.
Happy
Happy trading.
trading.